When a blizzard locks a billionaire and a homeless woman in the same room, neither expects what happens next. Sometimes the worst storm isn't the one outside. When Adrian Cole's private jet can't land and Clara Bennett's last $20 runs out at the same mountain lodge, fate doesn't ask permission. It just locks the door. One man who has everything, one woman who has nothing left to lose, and a little girl caught between two worlds colliding. Stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The wind hit like a fist. Clara Bennett stumbled through the lodge door, snow clinging to her coat in thick clumps that melted instantly in the sudden warmth. Her fingers were numb. Not the kind of numb that goes away after a few minutes by a heater, the kind that makes you wonder if you've done permanent damage this time. She flexed them anyway, trying to coax feeling back into the tips as the door slammed shut behind her, rattling the frame. The lobby smelled like pine and old money, leather chairs, a stone fireplace big enough to stand in, soft lighting that didn't quite hide the fact that this place cost more per night than she used to make in a month. Used to, past tense. Because right now, Clara made nothing. She had $23 in her pocket and nowhere to go. Miss? The woman behind the desk looked up, her smile professional but strained. Can I help you? Clara approached the counter, trying not to drip on the polished wood floor. Her boots squeaked. Everything about her screamed wrong place, wrong person. She knew it. The desk clerk knew it. Probably everyone in the building knew it. I need a room, Clara said. Her voice came out rougher than she intended. The clerk's smile tightened. I'm so sorry, but we're completely booked. The storm came in faster than expected, and please. Clara hated the word even as it left her mouth. Hated the desperation in it. Just for tonight. I can sleep anywhere. A couch. A storage room. I don't care. The woman's expression shifted into something that might have been pity. Clara hated that more than the cold. There's nothing available, the clerk said gently. The highway's closed. Everyone who was trying to get down the mountain before the storm hit ended up here instead. We even have people sleeping in the library. Clara's chest tightened. She'd burned through the last of her cash getting the bus ticket up here, chasing a job lead that turned out to be nothing. Another dead end. Another mistake. The kind she'd gotten good at making. Is there anywhere else nearby? Not for 30 miles, and you won't make it half a mile in this weather. Clara turned toward the windows. She couldn't see anything beyond the glass except white. Just white, moving in sheets so thick it looked solid. She was stuck. Worse than stuck. She was trapped in a place she couldn't afford, surrounded by people who belonged here, with nowhere to go and no way out. Clara Bennett? She turned. The clerk was looking at her computer screen, frowning slightly. Yes? Someone just checked in and requested an extra cot be brought to their suite. They're willing to share. It's unconventional, but given the circumstances. The clerk looked up. Would you be comfortable with that arrangement? Clara's first instinct was to say no. Sharing a room with a stranger? That was how people got hurt. How they got robbed, or worse. But the alternative was going back out into that storm, and she wasn't sure she'd survive it. Who is it? She asked. The clerk hesitated. A Mr. Cole. He's traveling with his daughter. He saw you come in and offered. A man with a kid. That was something at least. People with children were usually safer. Usually. Okay, Clara said. Yes, thank you. The clerk's relief was visible. She handed Clara a keycard. 3rd floor, room 314. There's a kitchenette and a separate bedroom. Mr. Cole and his daughter will take the bedroom. You'll have the couch and some privacy. Clara took the key. Her hand was still shaking from the cold. Thank you, she said again, and meant it this time. The elevator ride up was quiet. Clara caught her reflection in the mirrored walls and looked away quickly. She knew what she looked like. Hollow cheeks, dark circles under her eyes that no amount of sleep would fix anymore, hair that needed cutting or at least washing, a coat that had seen better years. She didn't belong here. But then again, she didn't belong anywhere. Room 314 was at the end of a long hallway carpeted in deep burgundy. Clara knocked, half hoping no one would answer. Maybe the guy had changed his mind. Maybe... The door opened. The man standing there was tall, maybe 6'1", with dark hair that was slightly messy in a way that suggested he'd been running his hands through it. He wore a simple gray sweater and jeans. No wedding ring, dark eyes that looked tired, but not unkind. "Clara?" he asked. She nodded. "Adrian Cole." He stepped aside, gesturing her in. "Come in. You look frozen." She was. Claire stepped into the suite and tried not to stare. It was bigger than her last apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed nothing but the storm, but inside it was warm. A fire crackled in a small fireplace. A leather couch faced it. In the corner, a little girl sat cross-legged on the floor, coloring. "That's Mia," Adrian said, following Clara's gaze. "She's 6. Mia, this is Clara. She's going to be staying with us tonight because of the storm." The girl looked up. She had her father's dark eyes and a gap where her front tooth should have been. "Hi," Mia said shyly. "Hi," Clara managed. Adrian closed the door behind her. "Let me take your coat. You need to warm up before you catch pneumonia." Clara hesitated, then shrugged out of the damp coat. Underneath, she wore 2 sweaters layered over each other. Both were old. One had a small hole near the hem. Adrian hung the coat on a hook near the radiator without comment. If he noticed the state of it, he didn't say anything. "There's coffee," he said, moving toward the kitchenette. "Or tea, if you prefer. Hot chocolate for Mia, but I think she'd be willing to share." "Coffee's fine," Clara said. "Thank you." She stood awkwardly by the door, unsure what to do with herself. This was already weird, sharing a room with strangers. She should say something, make conversation. But her brain felt slow, still half frozen. Adrian poured coffee into a mug and handed it to her. Their fingers brushed. His were warm. "Sit," he said, nodding toward the couch. "You don't have to stand there like you're waiting for permission." Clara sat. The couch was soft, almost too soft. She wrapped both hands around the mug and let the heat seep into her palms. Mia went back to her coloring. Adrian settled into a chair across from Clara, his own coffee in hand. "Hell of a storm," he said. "Yeah. Were you trying to get down the mountain?" "Trying to get away from it," Clara said without thinking. Then, realizing how that sounded, she added, "I mean, I was heading back. Job thing fell through." Adrian nodded. He didn't pry. Clara appreciated that. "We were heading home," he said. "Flight got diverted. Then the roads closed. So, here we are." "Where's home?" "Denver. You?" Clara hesitated. "Nowhere, really. I move around a lot." That was one way to phrase it. "I'm broke and unstable" sounded worse. Adrian studied her for a moment, and Clara had the uncomfortable feeling that he saw more than she wanted him to. But all he said was, "Well, you've got somewhere tonight, at least." "I appreciate this," Clara said. "Seriously, I know it's weird, letting a stranger crash in your room." "It's not ideal," Adrian admitted, "but neither is freezing to death. Besides, Mia likes having people around." "Don't you, kiddo?" Mia looked up from her drawing. "Daddy says people are supposed to help each other." "Daddy talks a lot," Adrian said, but he was smiling. Clara felt something twist in her chest, the easy affection between them. The way Adrian looked at his daughter like she was the center of his universe. It was the kind of thing she used to believe in, back when she was younger and stupider. She sipped her coffee to cover the silence. "Are you hungry?" Adrian asked. "We were about to order dinner from the restaurant downstairs. You're welcome to join us." Clara's stomach chose that moment to growl audibly. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. A gas station muffin that tasted like cardboard. "I don't want to impose," she said. "You're not." Adrian was already reaching for the room service menu. "What do you like?" "Anything's fine." He glanced at her, one eyebrow raised. "That's not an answer. Pick something you actually want." Clara scanned the menu he held out. Everything on it was expensive, way too expensive for someone living off $23. "Burger's good," she said finally. "Burger it is. Mia, what do you want?" "Mac and cheese," Mia announced without looking up. Adrian called down to the restaurant, ordered a burger for Clara, mac and cheese for Mia, and a steak for himself. He didn't ask Clara to pay, didn't even bring it up, just added it to his room tab like it was nothing. Because to him, it probably was nothing. Clara watched him move around the suite, setting out plates from the kitchenette, refilling Mia's cup of juice, poking at the fire to get it going better. He moved with the kind of easy confidence that came from never having to wonder if there would be enough. Enough food, enough warmth, enough anything. She'd never had that, not once in her life. So what do you do? Adrian asked, settling back into his chair. Clara stiffened. She hated that question, because the real answer was nothing. She did nothing. She had no job, no prospects, no future worth mentioning. I'm between things right now, she said carefully. What kind of things? I used to work in hospitality, hotels mostly, front desk, housekeeping, whatever they needed. Used to? Clara shrugged. Budget cuts, then COVID hit, then other stuff. Other stuff meaning she'd lost her apartment, meaning she'd couch surfed until she ran out of friends willing to let her crash, meaning she'd spent the last 3 months ping-ponging between shelters and cheap motels, taking whatever work she could find until the money ran out again. That's rough, Adrian said, and he sounded like he meant it. Clara looked at him. Really looked. He didn't have the polished, untouchable quality she associated with rich people. His sweater was expensive, sure, but it was also slightly wrinkled. He had a scar on his left hand, faint but visible, calluses on his fingers. He looked real. What about you? She asked. What do you do? I run a company. What kind of company? Tech. Software development mostly. Infrastructure stuff. Boring, honestly. Clara doubted it was boring. People who ran tech companies usually ran big tech companies, the kind that made headlines. And you're doing that while raising a 6-year-old? Adrian's expression shifted slightly. Something sad flickered across his face, gone almost before Clara registered it. Her mom passed away, he said quietly. 2 years ago, so yeah, it's just us now. I'm sorry, Clara said, and meant it. Thanks. Adrian glanced at Mia, who was still absorbed in her coloring. She's a good kid, makes it easier. Clara didn't know what to say to that. She'd never been around kids much, didn't know how to talk to them, didn't know how to exist in the kind of life Adrian was describing, one where people had family, stability, roots. Dinner arrived 20 minutes later. The bellhop wheeled in a cart laden with covered dishes, and the smell alone was enough to make Clara's mouth water. Real food, not gas station junk or vending machine crackers. They ate at the small table by the window. Mia chattered about her drawing, which apparently depicted a dragon fighting a unicorn. Adrian listened with the kind of patient attention that suggested he'd heard this story before but didn't mind hearing it again. Clara ate slowly, trying to make it last. The burger was good, better than good. She couldn't remember the last time she'd had something hot and fresh and not reheated in a microwave. You okay? Adrian asked. Clara realized she'd been staring at her plate. Yeah, sorry, it's good, thank you. Don't thank me for feeding you. That's bare minimum human decency. Clara almost laughed. You'd be surprised how many people don't clear that bar. Adrian's expression darkened slightly. Yeah, I guess I would be. They finished eating. Mia yawned, rubbing her eyes with one small fist. Bedtime, Adrian said, standing. Say goodnight to Clara. Good night, Clara, Mia said obediently. Good night, Clara replied. Adrian scooped Mia up. She was clearly too tired to protest, and carried her toward the bedroom. Make yourself comfortable, he called over his shoulder. Extra blankets are in the closet if you need them. Clara waited until the bedroom door closed, then let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. This was surreal. All of it. Sitting in a luxury suite, stomach full, warm for the first time in days. And the only reason it was happening was because some stranger decided to be kind. She didn't trust kindness. Not anymore. Kindness always came with strings. People wanted something. They always did. Maybe Adrian wanted to feel good about himself, helping the poor homeless woman. Maybe he'd bring it up later, use it as leverage. Maybe... Clara stopped herself. She was spiraling. That was the poverty mindset talking. The one that said nothing was free, trust was a luxury she couldn't afford, and letting her guard down would only get her hurt. But Adrian hadn't asked for anything, hadn't made her feel small or pitied. He'd just helped. Clara stood and moved to the window. Outside, the storm was still raging. She pressed her hand against the cold glass and watched the snow fall. She'd been running for so long, from bad jobs, bad relationships, bad decisions that piled up until she couldn't see over them anymore. Running from the life she'd grown up in, trailer parks and food stamps, and her mother's voice saying, "You'll never be anything." running from the girl she used to be, the one who believed things could get better if she just worked hard enough. That girl was gone. In her place was someone who survived, day by day, hour by hour, who didn't plan for the future because the future never worked out the way she hoped. But tonight, she wasn't running. Tonight, she was warm and fed and safe. It wouldn't last. It never did. But for now, it was enough. Okay. Adrian closed the bedroom door quietly and watched Mia climb into bed. She was already half asleep, clutching the stuffed rabbit she'd had since she was a baby. Is Clara staying forever? Mia mumbled. No, sweetheart, just tonight. Oh. Mia's eyes were already closing. I like her. Yeah? Adrian pulled the blanket up to her chin. Why's that? She looks sad, like you used to look. Adrian's throat tightened. Get some sleep, Mia. Okay. Love you, Daddy. Love you too. He waited until her breathing evened out, then stood and moved to the window. From here, he could see the main lobby below, lit up against the storm. People milled around inside, displaced and restless. He thought about Clara, about the way she'd looked when she walked in, soaked, shaking, holding herself like she expected the world to hit her again. He recognized that look. He'd seen it in the mirror often enough after Emma died. Adrian didn't make a habit of inviting strangers into his space. He was careful, especially with Mia around. But when he'd seen Clara standing at that desk, desperation written all over her, he hadn't thought twice. Maybe it was stupid. Maybe it was reckless. But Emma used to say that people needed people, that closing yourself off made you smaller, meaner, that the world had enough walls already. So he'd offered a couch and a meal. Basic decency, like he'd told Clara. Though, if he was being honest, it was more than that. There was something about her, a rawness, like she'd been worn down to the bone and was still standing anyway. It reminded him of himself in those first months after Emma, when getting out of bed felt impossible, but he did it anyway because Mia needed him. Clara had that same tired determination, the kind that came from carrying too much for too long. Adrian rubbed his eyes. He was probably reading too much into it. She was a stranger. Tomorrow the storm would clear, and she'd leave, and he'd never see her again. That was fine. It had to be. Clara woke to the sound of something clattering in the kitchenette. She sat up, disoriented. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. Then it came back. Lodge, storm, Adrian, the couch. She'd fallen asleep on the couch. Pale gray light filtered through the windows. Morning. The storm was still going, but it looked less violent now. Just steady snow instead of the whiteout from last night. Sorry, Adrian said from the kitchenette. Didn't mean to wake you. Clara rubbed her face. It's fine. What time is it? A little after 7. Coffee? Please. She stood, feeling the stiffness in her back from sleeping on the couch. It was still better than most places she'd slept recently. Adrian handed her a mug. He looked like he'd been up for a while. Already dressed, hair still damp from a shower. Mia still asleep? Clara asked. Yeah, she'll be out for another hour at least. They stood in the kitchenette, sipping coffee in silence. It should have been awkward, but it wasn't. Just quiet. Storm's not letting up, Adrian said, looking out the window. How long do you think we're stuck here? At least another day. Maybe 2. Clara's stomach dropped. 2 more days. That meant 2 more nights. She couldn't afford that. She couldn't... Don't worry about the room, Adrian said, like he was reading her mind. It's covered. I can't let you... You're not letting me do anything. The room's already paid for. Whether you're here or not doesn't change that. He looked at her steadily. So you might as well stay. Clara wanted to argue, wanted to say she didn't need charity, but the truth was, she did. She absolutely did. Thank you, she said quietly. Adrian nodded and turned back to the window. Clara studied him over the rim of her mug. In the gray morning light, he looked different, older maybe, tired, like someone who'd been carrying his own weight for a long time. Can I ask you something? Clara said. Sure. Why'd you offer to let me stay here? You don't know me. Adrian was quiet for a moment. I know what it's like to have nowhere to go, he said finally. Maybe not in the same way you do, but I know the feeling. Clara doubted that. People like Adrian always had somewhere to go, always had options. But she didn't say that. Instead, she asked, what happened to Mia's mom? if you don't mind me asking. Adrian's jaw tightened. Cancer. Ovarian. By the time they caught it, it was stage 4. She fought for 8 months, died 2 weeks before Mia's 5th birthday. God, I'm sorry. Yeah, me too. He took a long drink of coffee. Mia doesn't remember much, which is probably a blessing, but sometimes she asks questions, and I don't know how to answer them. Clara didn't know what to say to that. What could you say? It gets easier? That was a lie. She's in a better place? Meaningless. So she just said, "That's really hard." It is. Adrian looked at her. But you keep going, because what else are you going to do? Clara understood that. Keeping going even when you didn't want to, even when everything inside you said to stop, to give up, to let the weight finally crush you. You kept going anyway. Yeah, she said, I get that. They finished their coffee in silence. Eat. By mid-morning, the lodge had taken on a different quality. The panic of the night before had faded into resignation. People gathered in the lobby, swapping storm stories and complaints about the Wi-Fi. Kids ran around, burning off energy. The restaurant was packed. Clara stayed in the suite. She didn't want to go downstairs, didn't want to be around people. Adrian didn't push. He seemed content to let her exist quietly while he entertained Mia. Watching them was strange. Mia was all energy and questions, bouncing from one thing to the next. Adrian kept up with patient ease, answering her endless stream of why and what if without ever seeming annoyed. Can we build a fort? Mia asked around noon. Sure, Adrian said. Where? Here. Mia pointed at the space between the couch and the fireplace. Adrian glanced at Clara. You okay with a fort invasion? Clara shrugged. Go for it. They pulled cushions off the couch, draped blankets over chairs, created a sprawling structure that was more chaos than architecture. Mia disappeared inside with her coloring books and stuffed rabbit, declaring it her castle. Adrian sat back on his heels, surveying the mess. Well, that happened. Clara almost smiled. You're good with her. I try. Adrian stood, brushing off his jeans. Not sure I always succeed, but I try. She seems happy. Yeah, she's resilient. Kids are like that. Clara thought about her own childhood. She hadn't been resilient. She'd been scared, angry, always waiting for the next bad thing. You hungry? Adrian asked. I was going to order lunch. I'm okay. That's not what I asked. Clara looked at him. I don't want you to keep paying for me. Then don't think of it as paying for you. Think of it as me ordering food and you happening to eat some of it. That's the same thing. No, it's not. Adrian grabbed the room service menu. Stop making this weird. You're here, you need to eat, I'm ordering food. End of story. He was right. Clara was making it weird. She couldn't help it. Accepting help made her feel weak, made her feel like she owed something, but she was hungry, and refusing wouldn't change anything except making her feel worse. Fine, she said. Sandwich is good. Specific kind of sandwich? Surprise me. Adrian called down and ordered. While they waited, Mia emerged from her fort and demanded they play a game. Adrian obliged, sitting on the floor and playing some complicated imaginary scenario involving dragons and princesses and a magic sword. Clara watched from the couch. There was something about the way Adrian shifted into kid mode, completely unselfconscious, fully present. No phone, no distraction, just him and his daughter, building a world out of nothing. When was the last time anyone had been that present for Clara? She couldn't remember. Lunch arrived. They ate together again, falling into an easy rhythm that shouldn't have been possible with 2 strangers and a 6-year-old, but somehow it worked. Afterward, Mia went back to her fort. Adrian loaded the dishes onto the cart for housekeeping to collect later. How long have you been on your own? He asked, his back to Clara. Clara stiffened. What makes you think I'm on my own? Lucky guess. He turned around. You don't have to answer, but if you want to talk, I'm listening. Clara didn't want to talk. Talking meant explaining, and explaining meant reliving. But the words came anyway, slow and reluctant. A while now, she said. 1.5 years, maybe. Lost my apartment. Lost my job. Lost everything, basically. No family? Clara laughed, but there was no humor in it. No, not the kind that helps, anyway. Adrian nodded. He didn't offer empty comfort. Didn't say it would get better. Just listened. It's funny, Clara continued, surprising herself. You spend your whole life thinking you're building something. A career. A life. Then one bad month happens and it all falls apart, and you realize it was never stable to begin with. What was the bad month? Got sick. Nothing major, just enough that I missed work. They fired me. Couldn't pay rent, got evicted. After that, it was just, she gestured vaguely, downhill. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's not your fault. Doesn't mean I can't be sorry it happened. Clara looked at him. He meant it. She could see it in his face. Why do you care? She asked. Adrian shrugged. Why shouldn't I? Because you don't know me. Because I'm nobody. You're not nobody. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I think you're wrong. Adrian sat down across from her. You're a person who's had a rough time. That doesn't make you nobody. Clara felt something crack inside her chest, something she'd kept locked down for months. You don't understand, she said, her voice rough. I've been nobody my whole life. I grew up with nothing. My mom was a drunk. My dad left before I was born. I spent 18 years being told I was worthless. And you know what? Turns out they were right. They weren't. You don't know that. Yes, I do. How? Clara demanded. How could you possibly know? Because worthless people don't keep fighting, Adrian said quietly. And you're still here, still trying. That's not nothing. Clara looked away. Tears burned behind her eyes, and she refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of him. I'm tired, she whispered. I know. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. One more day, Adrian said. That's all you need to worry about. Just one more day. Clara closed her eyes. One more day. She could do that. She'd been doing it for months. The afternoon stretched long and quiet. The storm outside continued its relentless assault, but inside the suite, it was calm. Mia napped in the bedroom. Adrian worked on his laptop at the small desk, occasionally glancing up to check on Clara. Clara sat by the window, staring out at the white void beyond the glass. She felt hollowed out, emptied by the conversation earlier. She hadn't meant to say all that, hadn't meant to crack open and spill her guts to a stranger. But Adrian didn't feel like a stranger anymore. That scared her, because people who felt familiar were the ones who hurt you worst when they left. Clara? She turned. Adrian was watching her, concern clear on his face. You okay? Yeah, fine. You don't look fine. Well, I am. Adrian closed his laptop. Look, I know we just met, and I know you don't have any reason to trust me, but if you need to talk, I don't. Okay. He held up his hands. Okay. Clara felt bad immediately. He was just trying to help, but she didn't know how to accept help without feeling like she was drowning in it. Sorry, she muttered. I'm not good at this. At what? People. Adrian smiled slightly. Yeah, me neither. That surprised her. You seem fine with people. With Mia, sure. With adults, not so much. He leaned back in his chair. I spend most of my time working or being a dad. Doesn't leave a lot of room for social skills. What about friends? Have a few. But after Emma died, people didn't know what to say, so they stopped calling. Can't really blame them. Clara understood that. People didn't like being around pain. It made them uncomfortable. That sucks, she said. Yeah, but it is what it is. They fell quiet again. Outside, the wind howled. What happens when the storm ends? Clara asked. I go back to Denver. You go. Wherever you're going. Nowhere. There has to be somewhere. Clara shook her head. Not really. I was thinking maybe I'd head south, somewhere warmer, easier to sleep outside when it's not freezing. Adrian's expression darkened. You've been sleeping outside? Sometimes, when I can't find a shelter with space. Jesus, Clara. It's fine, I manage. It's not fine. It's... He stopped, running a hand through his hair. Sorry. Not my place. No, it's not. But she didn't say it meanly, just matter of fact. Adrian stood and moved to the window beside her. What if you didn't have to go nowhere? Clara looked at him. What? What if there was somewhere you could go? A job. A place to stay. Are you offering me charity? I'm offering you a chance. At what? I don't know yet, but there's got to be something. Adrian turned to face her fully. You're smart. You're capable. You just need a break. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. Why? Clara demanded. Why do you care? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, because someone cared about me once, when I needed it, and I'm still here because of that. Clara didn't know what to say. Think about it, Adrian said. That's all I'm asking. Night came early, the storm swallowing the daylight. Mia woke from her nap cranky and out of sorts. Adrian handled it with patience Clara didn't understand, redirecting her energy until she finally settled down with a movie on the TV. Clara made herself useful, or tried to. She tidied up the fort mess, stacked dishes, folded blankets. Small things. Meaningless things. But it made her feel less like dead weight. Dinner was quiet. Mia fell asleep halfway through her chicken nuggets, slumped against Adrian's side. He carried her to bed without waking her. When he came back, Clara was washing dishes in the kitchenette sink. You don't have to do that, Adrian said. I know. She kept washing anyway. It gave her something to do with her hands. Adrian grabbed a towel and started drying. They worked in silence, side by side, until everything was clean and put away. Thank you, Clara said. For what? All of it. The room, the food. Not making me feel like garbage. You're not garbage. You keep saying that. Because it's true. Clara dried her hands and turned to face him. You're a good person, Adrian Cole. I'm really not. Yeah, you are. They stood there, too close in the small kitchenette, and Clara felt something shift, something fragile and dangerous. She stepped back. I should sleep, she said. Yeah, me too. But neither of them moved. Clara! Don't, she interrupted. Whatever you're about to say, don't. Because she couldn't handle kindness right now. Couldn't handle someone looking at her like she mattered. Adrian nodded slowly. Okay. He disappeared into the bedroom and Clara sank onto the couch. Her hands were shaking. She'd been alone for so long that she'd forgotten what it felt like to be seen, to be treated like a person instead of a problem. And now here was Adrian, offering her things she didn't know how to accept. It terrified her. Because accepting meant hoping. And hope was the most dangerous thing she could do. Clara pulled the blanket around herself and closed her eyes. Tomorrow the storm would end, and she'd leave. Before she could get used to this, before it could hurt when it was gone. Clara woke to silence. Not the comfortable kind. The unnerving kind that meant something had changed. She sat up on the couch, disoriented, her neck stiff from sleeping at an odd angle. The fire had died down to embers. Gray light filtered through the windows, but it was different from yesterday. Brighter, clearer. The storm had stopped. She pushed the blanket off and moved to the window. Outside, the world was buried under at least 3 feet of snow, but the sky was visible now, pale and washed out, but there. No more wind. No more whiteout. They'd be able to leave soon. The thought should have brought relief. Instead, it sat heavy in her stomach. Behind her, the bedroom door opened. Adrian emerged, looking like he'd barely slept. His hair stuck up on one side and he wore the same sweater from yesterday, wrinkled now. Storm's done, Clara said without turning around. Yeah, saw that. His voice was rough with sleep. Doesn't mean the roads are clear yet. How long? Day, maybe. They'll have to plow the highway first. One more day. Clara felt something like panic rising in her throat. One more day of this weird bubble where she got to pretend she belonged somewhere. Then it would pop, and she'd be back out there with nothing. Coffee? Adrian asked. Sure. They went through the motions again. Coffee, quiet conversation, carefully not talking about anything that mattered. Mia woke up 20 minutes later, all energy despite the early hour, demanding pancakes for breakfast. Adrian called room service. While they waited, Mia climbed onto the couch next to Clara. Do you like dragons? Mia asked. Clara blinked. I don't know. Never met one. They're cool. I'm going to have a dragon when I grow up. That's ambitious. Mia nodded seriously. Daddy says I can do anything if I work hard. Clara glanced at Adrian, who was pretending not to listen from the kitchenette. Your dad's right, she said, even though she wasn't sure she believed it. What are you going to do when you grow up? Mia asked. The question hit harder than it should have. Clara was 30 years old. She was already grown up, and she had nothing to show for it. I haven't decided yet, Clara said carefully. That's okay. You have time. The simplicity of it made Clara's chest ache. Kids thought everything was fixable. That time solved problems instead of making them worse. Breakfast arrived. They ate together at the small table, Mia chattering about dragons and castles and some TV show Clara had never heard of. Adrian listened with half his attention, the other half clearly somewhere else. After they finished, Mia disappeared back into her rebuilt fort with her coloring books. Adrian started clearing plates, moving on autopilot. You don't have to do that, Clara said, standing to help. Neither do you. I know. They worked in tandem again, and Clara was struck by how easy it had become. 2 days ago, they were strangers. Now they moved around each other like they'd been doing this for months. It was dangerous. This ease, this comfort. I should check downstairs, Adrian said, drying his hands. See what they're saying about the roads. I'll stay with Mia. He looked at her. You sure? Yeah, go. Adrian grabbed his keycard and left. The door clicked shut behind him, and suddenly the suite felt too quiet. Clara sat on the edge of the couch, watching Mia color inside the fort. The girl was humming to herself, completely absorbed, safe, happy. What would that be like? To grow up in a world where you never had to worry about where you'd sleep or if there'd be food, where your biggest concern was what color to make the dragon's wings. Clara had never had that. Not once. Clara? Mia poked her head out of the fort. Yeah? Can you color with me? Clara hesitated. She wasn't good with kids, didn't know how to talk to them. But Mia was looking at her with those big dark eyes, so hopeful, and Clara couldn't say no. Sure, she said. She crawled into the fort, awkward and feeling ridiculous, and sat cross-legged across from Mia. The girl handed her a coloring book and a fistful of crayons. You can do this page, Mia said, pointing to a picture of a castle. Clara started coloring. It had been years since she'd done something like this. Probably not since she was Mia's age. She focused on staying inside the lines, making the castle towers a deep blue. That's pretty, Mia said. Thanks. They colored in silence for a while. It was peaceful, mindless. Clara felt some of the tension in her shoulders ease. Do you have a mommy? Mia asked suddenly. Clara's hand stilled. I did, a long time ago. Where is she now? I don't know. We don't talk anymore. Mia processed this with the seriousness only a 6-year-old could muster. That's sad. Yeah, it is. My mommy's in heaven, Mia said matter-of-factly. Daddy says she's watching over us. Clara didn't know what to say to that. She'd never believed in heaven, never believed in anything watching over her. Life was random and cruel, and when you died, you just stopped. But she couldn't say that to a kid. I'm sure she is, Clara said softly. Do you miss your mommy? The question caught Clara off guard. Did she? Her mother had been mean, bitter, always angry about something. She drank too much and said terrible things. When Clara turned 18, she'd left and never looked back. Sometimes, Clara admitted, but not in the way you probably think. Mia tilted her head. What does that mean? It means sometimes I miss the idea of having a mom. Someone who cared, but the actual person? Not really. Mia considered this. That's confusing. Yeah, it is. They went back to coloring. Clara filled in the castle windows with yellow, trying to ignore the tightness in her throat. I like you, Mia said after a while. Clara looked up. Yeah? Yeah, you're nice, and you don't talk to me like I'm a baby. You're not a baby. I know, but grown-ups forget sometimes. Mia selected a red crayon and started coloring a dragon. Daddy doesn't forget. He's the best. He seems like a good dad. He is. He reads me stories every night, and he makes funny voices. Clara smiled despite herself. Does he? Uh-huh. Really silly ones. He does this one for the dragon that sounds like... Mia made a deep growly noise that was probably supposed to be threatening but came out adorable. That's pretty scary, Clara said. I know, right? The bedroom door opened and Adrian walked in. He stopped when he saw Clara in the fort with Mia, something unreadable crossing his face. What's going on here, he asked. Clara's coloring with me, Mia announced. She made the castle blue. I see that. Adrian crouched down to look. Nice work. Clara felt her face heat. It's just coloring. Still, nice work. He straightened and moved to the kitchenette. Clara crawled out of the fort, leaving Mia to her dragons. What they say downstairs? She asked. Roads won't be clear until tomorrow morning at the earliest. Maybe longer, depending on how fast the plows move. Adrian poured himself coffee. We're stuck another night. Clara's stomach twisted. Another night. Another meal she couldn't pay for. Another day of existing in Adrian's space, taking his charity. I should go down to the lobby, she said. See if they have any other rooms available. Why? Because I've been here 2 days. That's long enough. Adrian set his mug down. You think you're imposing. I know I am. You're not. Adrian, Clara, listen to me. He turned to face her fully. I offered you this space. Voluntarily. If I didn't want you here, you wouldn't be. So stop trying to make yourself smaller. I'm not. Yeah, you are. His voice was firm, but not unkind. You've been apologizing for existing since you got here, and I'm telling you, you don't have to. Clara looked away. He was right. She knew he was right, but old habits were hard to break. I don't know how to not do that, she admitted quietly. Practice, Adrian said. Start now. Clara met his eyes. There was something intense in his gaze, something that made her feel seen in a way that was both terrifying and exhilarating. Okay, she said. I'll try. Good. They held each other's gaze for a moment too long. Then Adrian looked away first, grabbing his coffee like he needed something to do with his hands. I'm going to check my email, he said. Shout if you need anything. He retreated to the desk, and Clara was left standing in the kitchenette, her heart beating too fast. This was bad. This feeling growing in her chest. This pull toward someone who was supposed to be temporary. She needed to shut it down, lock it away before it got worse. But when she looked over at Adrian, bent over his laptop with that little crease between his eyebrows, she knew it was already too late. The afternoon unfolded slowly. Mia demanded they play a board game she'd found in the closet, something colorful and chaotic that involved collecting cards and building kingdoms. Clara didn't understand half the rules, but Mia was patient, explaining them with the authority of someone who'd played 1,000 times. Adrian joined in, and for an hour the three of them sat on the floor, playing a children's game like it was the most important thing in the world. Clara couldn't remember the last time she'd played anything. Couldn't remember the last time she'd laughed like this, real laughter, not the bitter kind that came from dark jokes and darker situations. You're terrible at this, Adrian said when Clara made a move that apparently broke some unspoken rule. No one told me you couldn't do that, Clara protested. It's common sense. Not to me, Mia giggled. It's okay, Clara. Daddy's just competitive. I am not competitive, Adrian said, sounding offended. Yes, you are, Mia and Clara said at the same time. They looked at each other and laughed. Adrian shook his head, but he was smiling. The game ended with Mia winning by a landslide. She celebrated by doing a victory dance that involved a lot of spinning and arm waving. Gracious winner, Adrian commented. I learned from the best, Mia shot back. Clara watched them, something warm settling in her chest. This was what family looked like. Easy teasing, shared jokes, love that didn't need to be spoken to be felt. She'd never had this. And in a few hours, she'd lose it. Dinner came and went. Mia fell asleep early, worn out from the day's excitement. Adrian tucked her in and returned to the main room, where Clara was sitting by the window again, staring out at the snow-covered landscape. You okay? Adrian asked. Yeah, just thinking. About? Clara shrugged. Everything? Nothing? Adrian sat in the chair across from her. You're going to leave tomorrow. It wasn't a question. Yeah, Clara said. Roads will be clear. No reason to stay. There could be. Clara looked at him. Don't. Don't what? Don't make this harder than it already is. Adrian leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I meant what I said yesterday, about helping you find something, a job, a place. I can't take your charity. It's not charity. It's, what, pity? No. Adrian's voice was sharp. It's recognizing that you deserve better than sleeping on the street. You don't know what I deserve. I know you deserve a chance. Clara stood pacing to the other side of the room. Why do you care so much? You don't owe me anything. This isn't about owing. This is about... Adrian stopped, frustrated. I don't know. Basic human decency? Human decency would have been letting me crash on your couch for a night. This? This is something else. And what's wrong with that? Everything. Clara turned to face him. Because in 24 hours, I'm gone, and you'll go back to your life, and I'll go back to mine, and none of this will matter. It matters to me. The words hung in the air between them. Clara felt something crack. Don't say that. Why not? Because it makes it worse. Makes what worse? Leaving. The word came out broken. Leaving is easier when people don't care. Adrian stood, crossing the space between them. I do care. You shouldn't. Too late. They were too close now. Clara could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, could see the exhaustion etched into his face, the loneliness he tried to hide. He was just as broken as she was, just better at hiding it. Adrian? I know, he said quietly. I know this is complicated. I know we just met. I know you're leaving, but I can't just let you walk out of here with nothing. Why not? Because I've been where you are. Different circumstances, but the same place. After Emma died, I wanted to disappear, wanted to stop existing, and the only reason I didn't was because people refused to let me. Clara's throat tightened. I'm not suicidal. I didn't say you were, but you're giving up. I can see it. You're just going through the motions, waiting for something to end it for you. That's not, isn't it? Clara looked away. He was right. Painfully right. She'd stopped fighting months ago. Now she was just surviving, waiting for her body to catch up with what her spirit already knew, that she was done. What do you want from me? She whispered. I want you to let me help. I don't know how. Then let me show you. Clara closed her eyes. This was insane. Accepting help from a stranger, trusting someone she'd known for 2 days. But the alternative was going back out there, alone, with nothing. What would that even look like? She asked. I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. Adrian's voice was steady, certain. You don't have to decide right now. Just don't disappear tomorrow without saying goodbye. Clara opened her eyes. That's what you're worried about? Me ghosting you? Yeah, actually. Something about the admission, the vulnerability in it, made Clara's defenses crack a little more. I won't, she said. I promise. Okay? Adrian stepped back, giving her space. Okay. Good. They stood in awkward silence for a moment. Then Adrian cleared his throat. I should sleep, he said. Big day tomorrow. Roads, logistics, all that. Yeah, me too. But neither of them moved. Clara, good night, Adrian. Good night. He disappeared into the bedroom, and Clara sank onto the couch. Her hands were shaking again. She'd just promised to stay, to let him help. What the hell was she thinking? Morning came too fast. Clara woke to voices in the hallway, other guests packing up, preparing to leave now that the roads were open. She sat up, her heart already racing. Today was the day. Adrian was already awake, moving around the kitchenette. Mia sat at the table, eating cereal and swinging her legs. Morning, Adrian said when he saw Clara. Coffee's ready. Thanks. Clara poured herself a cup and sat down. The atmosphere was different today, heavier. Everyone knew what was coming. The highway's clear, Adrian said. They finished plowing around 6 this morning. That's good. Yeah. Silence. Mia looked between them, her expression confused. Are you leaving, Clara? Yes, sweetheart, I have to. But why? Because the storm's over. People go home when the storm's over. Where's your home? Clara's throat tightened. I don't have one right now. Mia's face fell. That's sad. It's okay. I'm used to it. But, Mia, Adrian said gently, finish your breakfast. Mia obeyed, but she kept glancing at Clara with those big, worried eyes. Clara excused herself to the bathroom. She needed a minute, needed to pull herself together before she fell apart in front of a 6-year-old. She stared at herself in the mirror. 3 days of regular meals and sleep had made a difference. She looked less hollow, less haunted, almost like a real person again. But that would fade. A week back on the streets, and she'd be right back where she started. Unless she let Adrian help. Clara splashed cold water on her face and took a deep breath. She could do this. She could accept help, just this once. When she came back out, Adrian was packing Mia's things into a small suitcase. Mia was back in the fort, saying goodbye to it. I called my assistant, Adrian said without looking up. Told her I'd be back in Denver tonight. That's good. Yeah. He zipped the suitcase. What about you? Where are you headed? Clara hesitated. South, probably. Warmer weather. You could come to Denver. There it was. The offer. Spoken plainly. No dancing around it. Adrian, just hear me out. He straightened, facing her. I have a guest house. It's small, but it's furnished. You could stay there while you figure things out. No rent, no strings, just a place to sleep that isn't a shelter or the street. Clara's heart hammered. I can't. You can. You just won't. It's too much. It's a house that's sitting empty. You'd actually be doing me a favor. The place needs someone in it so the pipes don't freeze. Clara almost laughed. That's a terrible lie. Okay, fine. It's not a favor, but the offer stands. Why are you doing this? Adrian ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. I don't know. Because I can? Because you need help? Because the thought of you going back out there makes me want to punch something? You barely know me. I know enough. You don't. Then come to Denver and let me know more. Clara stared at him. This was crazy. All of it. You didn't just move across states with a man you'd known for 3 days, but the alternative was so much worse. I need to think about it, she said finally. Okay, think about it. Adrian pulled a business card from his wallet and handed it to her. That's my number. Call me. Even if you decide not to come. Just call me. Clara took the card. It was heavy stock, embossed lettering. Adrian Cole, CEO. Of course he was a CEO. I will, she said. She wouldn't. They both knew it, but he nodded anyway. They finished packing in silence. Mia emerged from the fort, dragging her stuffed rabbit. Ready? Adrian asked her. I guess, Mia said sadly. Adrian picked up the suitcase. Clara grabbed her worn coat from the hook by the radiator. It was dry now, but still threadbare, still marking her as someone who didn't belong. They took the elevator down together. The lobby was chaos. People checking out, luggage everywhere, families reuniting. Clara felt small in the middle of it all. Adrian checked out at the desk while Clara waited with Mia. The little girl slipped her hand into Clara's. I'm going to miss you, Mia said. Clara's vision blurred. I'll miss you too. Will I see you again? I don't know, sweetheart. I hope so. Clara squeezed her hand gently. Me too. Adrian finished at the desk and came back. Car's out front. They walked out together. The cold hit Clara like a slap, but the sky was blue and clear, beautiful even. Adrian's car was a black SUV, expensive but not flashy. He loaded the suitcase into the back while Mia climbed into her car seat. Clara stood on the curb, suddenly unsure what to do. This is it, I guess, she said. Adrian closed the trunk and turned to face her. Doesn't have to be. Adrian, I know you're not going to call. I know you're going to disappear and try to handle everything on your own because that's what you do. He stepped closer. But I'm asking you not to. Clara's eyes burned. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Trust someone. Then take a leap, just once. Clara looked at him, really looked. At the man who'd let a stranger into his room, fed her, listened to her, treated her like she mattered. Who was offering her a lifeline and asking for nothing in return. I'll think about it, she said again. Promise? Yeah, I promise. Adrian pulled out his wallet and handed her several bills. At least take this. Get somewhere safe tonight. Clara wanted to refuse, wanted to say she didn't need his money, but pride didn't keep you warm. Thank you, she whispered, taking the cash. Call me, Clara, please. I will. They stood there for another moment, neither wanting to be the first to leave. Then Mia called from the car. Daddy, I'm cold. Adrian smiled sadly. I have to go. I know. He hesitated, then pulled Clara into a hug. It was brief, but warm, real. When he let go, Clara's eyes were wet. "Take care of yourself," Adrian said. "You too." He climbed into the SUV. Through the window, Clara could see Mia waving. She waved back. The car pulled away, disappearing down the plowed road. And just like that, Clara was alone again. She stood there for a long time, the business card clutched in her hand, watching the empty road. Then she turned and started walking. She didn't know where she was going, but for the first time in a long time, she thought maybe she didn't have to figure it out alone. The bus station smelled like diesel and stale coffee. Clara sat on a plastic bench, the business card still in her pocket. The cash Adrian had given her folded carefully in her other hand. $200. More than she'd seen in weeks. She could buy a ticket south. Get somewhere warm before the next storm hit. Start over again in a place where no one knew her name or her story. Or, Clara pulled out the card and stared at the number printed below Adrian's name. She'd promised to call, but promises were easy to make and easier to break. He'd forget about her in a week. 2, tops. People always did. The homeless woman from the snowstorm would become a dinner party story, something vaguely noble he could tell himself when he needed to feel like a good person. That was fine. Clara didn't need to be remembered. She put the card back in her pocket and stood. The southbound bus left in 40 minutes. She could grab something to eat, use the restroom, be gone before she had time to second-guess herself. But her feet didn't move toward the ticket counter. Instead, she found herself walking outside into the cold, her phone, the cheap prepaid one she'd been clinging to for months, in her hand. She dialed before she could talk herself out of it. It rang 3 times. Clara almost hung up. Then Adrian's voice came through, slightly breathless. "Hello?" Clara's throat closed. She couldn't speak. "Clara?" Adrian said. "Is that you?" "Yeah," she managed. "It's me. Where are you?" "Bus station, about 20 miles from the lodge." "Are you okay?" "I don't know." The honesty surprised her. "I don't know what I'm doing." Adrian was quiet for a moment. She could hear Mia singing something in the background, the sound of a car engine. "Do you want to come to Denver?" he asked. Clara closed her eyes. "I don't know if I can do that." "Why not?" "Because I don't know you, because this is insane, because people don't just do this." "Maybe they should." Clara let out a shaky laugh. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple. You need a place. I have a place. The hard part is letting yourself accept it." "What if it doesn't work out?" "Then it doesn't work out. But at least you tried." Clara leaned against the brick wall of the station, her breath fogging in the cold air. She thought about the southbound bus, about sleeping in another shelter, another doorway, another place where she had to keep one eye open. She thought about Adrian fixing the boiler, playing games with Mia, looking at Clara like she was a person instead of a problem. "If I come," she said slowly, "I'm not a charity case." "Never said you were." "I'll get a job, pay rent, pull my weight. We can figure out the details later. And if I hate it, I can leave. No guilt trip, no drama." "Deal." Claire took a deep breath. "Okay? Okay? Yeah, okay. I'll come to Denver." She could hear the smile in Adrian's voice. "Good. That's good. How soon can you get here?" "I don't know. The bus takes forever, and I'd have to change twice." "Don't take the bus. Where are you exactly?" Clara told him the name of the town. Adrian was quiet for a moment, and she could hear him typing something. "I'm about 3 hours out from Denver right now," he said, "but I can turn around, pick you up." "You don't have to do that." "I know, but I want to. Mia would love the adventure anyway." Clara felt something warm bloom in her chest. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. Find somewhere warm to wait. Grab some food. I'll text you when I'm close." "Adrian?" "Yeah?" "Thank you." "Stop thanking me. Just stay put." He hung up. Clara stood there, staring at her phone, trying to process what had just happened. She'd done it. She'd actually done it. She went back inside the station and bought a sandwich and a cup of terrible coffee, found a bench near a window where she could watch the parking lot, and she waited. The hours crawled by. Clara ate slowly, making the sandwich last, watched people come and go, families reuniting, solo travelers looking as lost as she felt. An older man sleeping on a bench across from her, his belongings stuffed into a garbage bag. That could have been her in a few years. Would have been her. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. 30 minutes out. Claire's heart kicked up. This was really happening. She was really doing this. She went to the bathroom, tried to make herself look presentable, washed her face, finger-combed her hair. It didn't help much, but it was something. When she came back out, she saw the black SUV pulling into the parking lot. Clara grabbed her small bag and headed outside. The cold hit her again, but she barely felt it. Adrian climbed out of the driver's seat. He looked tired, but he was smiling. "Hey," he said. "Hey." The back door flew open and Mia tumbled out, running straight to Clara and wrapping her arms around her waist. "You're coming with us," Mia said, her voice muffled against Clara's coat. Clara's eyes stung. She put a hand on Mia's head. "Yeah, I guess I am." "I knew you would. I told Daddy you would." "Did you?" Uh-huh. Because you're our friend." Clara looked at Adrian over Mia's head. He shrugged, but he was still smiling. "Come on," he said. "Let's get out of the cold." Clara climbed into the front passenger seat. Mia buckled herself into the back, chattering about everything that had happened in the last few hours. Adrian pulled back onto the highway, heading east toward Denver. And just like that, Clara's life pivoted in a direction she'd never imagined. The drive took 3.5 hours. Mia fell asleep halfway through, her head lolling against the car seat. Adrian drove in comfortable silence, occasionally glancing at Clara. "You okay?" he asked at one point. "Ask me later," Clara said. "When I figure it out." "Fair enough." They stopped once for gas and coffee. Clara insisted on paying with some of the money Adrian had given her, which he clearly thought was ridiculous but didn't argue about. "This is weird, right?" Clara said as they stood by the pumps, waiting for the tank to fill. "This whole situation is objectively weird." "Definitely weird," Adrian agreed. "But you're doing it anyway." "Yep." "Why?" Adrian looked at her. "You want the honest answer or the one that makes me sound less pathetic?" "Honest." "Because the last 2 years have been lonely as hell, and for 3 days they weren't." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Having you around, it reminded me what it's like to talk to another adult about real things. Not business, not small talk, just real things." Clara didn't know what to say to that. "Plus, Mia likes you," Adrian added, "and her judgment is usually pretty solid. She's 6. Exactly. 6-year-olds are brutally honest. If she didn't like you, you'd know." The pump clicked off. Adrian replaced the nozzle and got back in the car. Clara followed, her mind spinning. Denver appeared on the horizon as the sun started to set. The city sprawled out below them, lights beginning to twinkle as dusk settled in. Clara had never been here before, never been to Colorado at all. "What's Denver like?" she asked. "Depends on the neighborhood. Where I live, it's quiet, lots of trees, good schools." Adrian navigated off the highway. "You'll like it, I think." "What if I don't?" "Then we'll figure something else out." He said it so simply, like finding solutions was just something people did. Clara supposed for him, it was. They drove through residential streets lined with old houses and newer developments. Adrian turned into a neighborhood that screamed money. Big houses set back from the road, manicured lawns buried under snow, 3-car garages. Clara's anxiety spiked. "This is where you live?" "Yeah." "Adrian, I can't. The guest house is separate," he said quickly. "It's in the back of the property. You won't even see the main house from there unless you want to." He pulled into a long driveway. The main house was exactly what Clara expected. Huge, modern, all windows and clean lines, beautiful and completely intimidating. Adrian drove past it, following a smaller path that curved around back. There, nestled among a cluster of trees, was a much smaller building, still nice but human-sized, a cottage, almost. "That's it," Adrian said, parking. "Home sweet home, for now, anyway." Mia woke up as the car stopped, groggy and confused. "Are we there?" "We're there, kiddo." Adrian unbuckled her. "Why don't you go inside and say hi to Mrs. Chen? I'll be there in a minute." "Okay." Mia stumbled out of the car and headed toward the main house, still half asleep. Adrian grabbed Clara's bag from the back. "Come on, let me show you around." The guest house was unlocked. Adrian pushed the door open and flicked on the lights. Inside was a small living room with a couch and a TV. A kitchenette with a 2-burner stove and a mini fridge. A door that led to a bedroom with an actual bed, and a bathroom that was tiny but clean. It was perfect. It was too much. Adrian, I can't. If you say you can't accept this one more time, I'm going to lose my mind, Adrian said, setting her bag down. You can. You are. End of discussion. Clara looked around, trying to find the flaw. The catch. But there wasn't one. It was just a small, furnished house that someone was letting her use. The heat works, Adrian continued. Hot water, too. There's some basic stuff in the fridge. Milk, eggs, bread. I'll take you grocery shopping tomorrow so you can stock it properly. I have money. From what you gave me. Keep it. You'll need it for other things. Clara wanted to argue, but she was too tired, too overwhelmed. Thank you, she said quietly. Adrian stepped closer. You're allowed to have good things, Clara. You know that, right? I'm working on believing it. Work faster. He smiled, but there was something serious in his eyes, something that said he meant every word. I should let you settle in, Adrian said. But if you need anything, and I mean anything, the main house is right there. Just knock, or text me, whatever's easier. Okay? I mean it. Don't sit here freezing or starving because you're too proud to ask. I won't. Promise? Promise. Adrian hesitated, like there was more he wanted to say, but instead he just nodded and headed for the door. Adrian? He turned back. I'm glad I called, Clara said. His face softened. Yeah, me too. After he left, Clara stood in the middle of the small living room and tried to process everything that had happened in the last 12 hours. This morning she'd been at a bus station, ready to run. Now she was in Denver, standing in a house that was hers to use, with a man and his daughter who actually seemed to care whether she lived or died. It didn't feel real. Clara moved to the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. It was soft, the kind of soft she'd forgotten beds could be. She lay back, staring at the ceiling, and let herself breathe. For the first time in longer than she could remember, she felt safe. That night, Clara didn't sleep well. Not because the bed was uncomfortable. It was the opposite. She wasn't used to comfort. Every time she started to drift off, she'd jolt awake, convinced something bad was about to happen. By morning, she was exhausted and wired at the same time. She took a shower in the tiny bathroom, letting the hot water run until it started to cool. Got dressed in the cleanest clothes she had, which wasn't saying much. Made coffee in the kitchenette and stood by the window, looking out at the snow-covered yard. A knock on the door made her jump. She opened it to find Mia standing there, bundled in a purple coat and holding a plate covered with foil. Hi, Mia said. Mrs. Chen made pancakes and Daddy said I should bring you some. Clara took the plate. Thank you. You didn't have to do that. I know, but we wanted to. Mia invited herself in, looking around with open curiosity. This is cozy. Yeah, it's nice. Are you staying forever? Clara sat on the couch, peeling back the foil. The pancakes were still warm. I don't know about forever, but for a while. Good. Mia climbed onto the couch next to her. Daddy's happier when you're here. Is he? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. He smiles more. Clara didn't know what to do with that information. She ate a pancake, and it was delicious, homemade. Nothing like the frozen ones she'd lived on when she could afford them. Who's Mrs. Chen? Clara asked. She helps take care of me when Daddy's working. She's really nice. She makes the best food. Sounds like it. Mia swung her legs, watching Clara eat. Do you want to color with me later? Maybe. I need to figure some things out first. Like what? Like finding a job. Getting my life together. Mia tilted her head. Daddy says you don't have to rush. Daddy says a lot of things. He's usually right. Clara smiled despite herself. Yeah, I'm starting to notice that. Adrian appeared in the doorway a few minutes later, looking slightly frantic. Mia, you can't just run off without telling me. I brought Clara pancakes. I see that. Next time, tell me first. Okay. Mia hopped off the couch. Can Clara come over for lunch? Adrian looked at Clara. Only if she wants to. Clara should say no, should establish boundaries. But Mia was looking at her with those hopeful eyes, and Clara found herself nodding. Sure, lunch sounds good. Mia cheered and ran back toward the main house. Adrian lingered in the doorway. Sorry about her, he said. She's excited you're here. It's fine, she's sweet. She's a menace. But he said it fondly. Anyway, no pressure about lunch or anything else. You can take as much time as you need to settle in. I appreciate that. Adrian started to leave, then stopped. Hey, Clara? Yeah? I'm glad you're here. He said it simply, without expectation, like it was just a fact he wanted her to know. Me too, Clara said, and for the first time she meant it. The days started to blur together in a way that wasn't bad. Clara spent her mornings in the guest house, searching for jobs online using the laptop Adrian had insisted she borrow. She applied to hotels, restaurants, retail stores, anything that didn't require references she couldn't provide. Most days, Mia would appear around lunchtime, dragging Clara over to the main house. Mrs. Chen, a warm woman in her 60s who spoke with a slight accent and treated Clara like she'd known her for years, always had food ready. Adrian was gone a lot during the day, working at his office downtown. But he was always back by dinner, and somehow Clara kept ending up at their table. It should have felt like intrusion, like she was overstepping, but Adrian never made it seem that way. He'd ask about her day, tell her about his, listen to Mia's endless stories. Normal things, family things. Things Clara had never had. A week passed, then 2. Clara got a call back from a hotel near downtown. The manager wanted her to come in for an interview. She panicked, realizing she had nothing appropriate to wear. She mentioned it to Adrian in passing, expecting him to offer money or solutions. Instead, he said, I'll watch Mia tomorrow afternoon. You should go shopping, get what you need. I can't afford. Use the money I gave you. That's what it's for. Clara wanted to argue, but he gave her that look, the one that said he wasn't going to budge. So she went, found a thrift store and bought a blazer and a pair of slacks that almost fit. A blouse that was only slightly dated. She felt ridiculous in the dressing room, playing dress-up for a life she wasn't sure she could claim. But she bought the clothes anyway. The interview went better than expected. The manager, a no-nonsense woman named Patricia, looked at Clara's spotty resume and said, You've got gaps. I know. You going to tell me why? Clara could have lied, could have made up some story about traveling or family emergencies, but something in Patricia's expression told her honesty might actually work. I was homeless, Clara said, for about 1.5 years. Lost my job, couldn't pay rent. It spiraled. Patricia studied her. And now? Now I'm trying to put my life back together. You using? No. Drinking? No. Patricia nodded slowly. When can you start? Clara blinked. You're offering me the job? Front desk? Part-time to start. Minimum wage. If you show up on time and do the work, we'll talk about more hours. Patricia handed her a packet of paperwork. Fill this out and bring it back tomorrow. Clara took the packet, her hands shaking slightly. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This job's hard. Guests are rude, hours are long, pays crap. You still want it? Yes. Then we'll see you Monday. Clara walked out of that hotel feeling like she'd won the lottery. She told Adrian that night over dinner. Mia cheered. Mrs. Chen smiled knowingly. Adrian just looked at her with something like pride. Congratulations, he said. It's just a front desk job. It's a start. Clara realized he was right. It was a start. The first real one she'd had in a long time. That night, back in the guest house, Clara allowed herself to feel something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. The job was exactly as hard as Patricia had warned. Clara worked 4 shifts a week, each one a blur of check-ins, complaints, and customers who treated her like she was invisible. Her feet ached. Her customer service smile felt painted on. But she showed up on time, kept her head down, did the work. After 3 weeks, Patricia pulled her aside. You're doing good. I'm adding another shift. Clara nearly cried. Thank you. Don't get emotional on me. It's just business. But Patricia's expression was softer than her words. Clara started paying Adrian rent. He argued, said she didn't need to, but she insisted. $200 a month from her paychecks. It wasn't much, but it was something. It made her feel less like a charity case. Adrian took the money with obvious reluctance, and Clara suspected he was setting it aside somewhere instead of actually using it. But she didn't call him on it. Things settled into a rhythm. Work, home, dinners with Adrian and Mia. It was domestic in a way Clara had never experienced. Comfortable. Too comfortable. That was the problem. Clara was getting used to this. used to having a place, used to people who cared. And the more she let herself settle, the more terrified she became of losing it. She started pulling back, skipping dinners, making excuses when Mia came to visit, spending more time alone in the guest house, reminding herself this was temporary. Adrian noticed. He showed up one evening, knocking on the door while Clara was eating microwaved ramen on the couch. "Can I come in?" he asked. Clara wanted to say no, but she nodded. Adrian sat in the chair across from her. "You're avoiding us." "I'm not, Clara. You are." She set down the ramen. "I'm just busy. Work and everything." "You work 4 shifts a week. The rest of the time you're hiding in here." "I'm not hiding." "Then what are you doing?" Clara looked away. "I don't know." Adrian leaned forward. "Talk to me." "There's nothing to talk about." "Bullshit." The word surprised her. Adrian rarely cursed. "I'm scared, okay?" Clara said, the admission ripped out of her. "I'm scared because this is all too good, too easy, and I keep waiting for it to fall apart." "Why would it fall apart?" "Because things always do. For me, they always do." Adrian was quiet for a moment. "What if they don't this time?" "Then I don't know how to handle that either." "So you'd rather run before you have to?" Clara's throat tightened. "Maybe." "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard." "Excuse me?" "You heard me." Adrian's voice was firm. "You've got a job, a place to live, people who care about you, and you're going to throw it away because you're scared? You don't understand. I understand that you've been hurt. I understand that trusting people is hard. But Clara, at some point, you have to stop running." "I don't know how." "Yes, you do. You just don't want to." "Want..." The words hit like a slap. Clara stood, pacing to the window. "You think this is easy for me? Being here, depending on you, letting Mia get attached when I might have to leave? Why would you have to leave?" "Because that's what I do. I leave before it gets worse." "What if it doesn't get worse? What if it just gets better?" Clara turned to face him. "Nothing in my life has ever just gotten better." "Then maybe it's time to change that." They stared at each other, the air thick with tension. "I don't know if I can," Clara whispered. Adrian stood, crossing the small room until he was right in front of her. "You don't have to know. You just have to try." Clara felt tears building. "What if I fail?" "Then you fail, and we figure it out, together." "Why do you care so much?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "Because you remind me of myself. After Emma died, I wanted to give up, wanted to stop existing, and I would have, except people wouldn't let me." His voice cracked slightly. "So I'm not letting you give up either." Clara's vision blurred. "I'm so tired, Adrian." "I know. I don't know how to keep fighting." "Then let someone fight with you. Let me fight with you." The tears fell then, hot and fast. Clara tried to wipe them away, but they kept coming. Adrian pulled her into a hug. Clara stiffened at first, then sagged against him, sobbing into his shoulder. All the fear and exhaustion and loneliness she'd been carrying for so long came pouring out. Adrian just held her steady and solid, like he could absorb some of the weight. When the tears finally slowed, Clara pulled back, embarrassed. "Sorry, that was..." "Human," Adrian said. "That was human." Clara laughed weakly. "I got your shirt wet." "I have more shirts." They stood there, close enough that Clara could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the worry, the care. "I'll try," she said quietly. "I'll try to stop running. That's all I'm asking. But if it gets too hard, we'll figure it out, together." Clara nodded. "Okay. Okay." Adrian stepped back, giving her space. "Mia's been asking about you. She misses coloring with you. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her yourself, tomorrow, dinner, be there." It was an order, not a question. Clara almost smiled. "Fine, I'll be there." "Good." After he left, Clara sat back down on the couch, feeling wrung out but somehow lighter. For the first time, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could work. That she could stay, that she could build something here. It wasn't hope exactly. Not yet. But it was close. If you or someone you know is having a difficult time, free support is available. Find resources. Clara showed up for dinner the next night like she'd promised. Mia launched herself at her the moment she walked through the door, wrapping small arms around Clara's waist with enough force to nearly knock her over. "You're back," Mia said, her face pressed into Clara's shirt. "I was only gone a few days." It felt like forever. Clara looked over Mia's head at Adrian, who was setting the table. He gave her a small smile, the kind that said he understood how hard it was for her to walk through that door. "I brought dessert," Clara said, holding up a box of cookies from the grocery store. "Store-bought, but they looked decent." "Cookies!" Mia released Clara and ran to inspect the box. Mrs. Chen emerged from the kitchen carrying a pot of something that smelled incredible. She took one look at Clara and shook her head in that way older women did when they thought you weren't eating enough. "You're too thin," Mrs. Chen said. "Sit. Eat." "Yes, ma'am." Dinner was chicken stir-fry with vegetables and rice. Clara ate slowly, savoring each bite. The conversation flowed around her, Mia talking about school, Adrian asking about her day, Mrs. Chen occasionally interjecting with commentary about the neighbors or the weather. It felt normal, painfully, wonderfully normal. After dinner, Mia dragged Clara to the living room to show her a puzzle she'd been working on. It was one of those 1,000-piece nightmares, half-finished and spread across the coffee table. "Will you help me?" Mia asked. "I'm terrible at puzzles." "That's okay. I'll teach you." So Clara sat on the floor and sorted edge pieces while Mia explained her system with the seriousness of a general planning a military campaign. Adrian joined them after cleaning up, taking his spot on the couch with his laptop. "Don't you have work to do?" Clara asked him. "Always, but it can wait." He glanced at Mia. "Some things are more important." They worked on the puzzle for over an hour. Mia's energy finally started to fade around 8:30, her yawns getting more frequent. "Bedtime," Adrian said, closing his laptop. "But we're almost done with the corner," Mia protested. "The corner will be there tomorrow." "But bed. Now." Mia knew when she was beaten. She stood, then surprised Clara by hugging her again. "Will you come back tomorrow?" Clara's throat tightened. "If you want me to." "I do. We both do." Mia looked at her father. "Right, Daddy?" Adrian met Clara's eyes. "Right." After Mia went upstairs, Clara stood to leave. Adrian walked her to the door. "Thank you for coming," he said. "Thank you for not giving up on me." "Wasn't going to." Clara hesitated, then said, "I meant what I said last night. I'm going to try. To stay. To not run. I know you are. But I need you to understand something." Clara took a breath. "I've never had this. A place. People. I don't know the rules. I'm going to mess up. So will I. We'll figure it out as we go. What if... Clara." Adrian's voice was gentle but firm. "Stop catastrophizing. Just be here. That's enough." Clara nodded, not trusting herself to speak. She walked back to the guest house through the cold night air, her breath fogging. When she got inside, she didn't feel the usual urge to pack her bag and plan an escape route. Instead, she made tea and sat by the window, watching the lights in the main house gradually go dark. For the first time in longer than she could remember, she let herself imagine a future that extended beyond next week. The weeks that followed were a strange kind of education. Clara learned the rhythm of Adrian's household, the chaos of weekday mornings when Mia couldn't find her shoes, the quiet of afternoons when Adrian worked from home, the comfortable routine of evening meals. She learned that Adrian was a terrible cook but tried anyway, that he sang off key in the shower, that he fell asleep on the couch most nights with his laptop still open, working until exhaustion caught up with him. She learned that Mia was stubborn like her father, that she hated green beans but loved broccoli for reasons she couldn't explain, that she had nightmares sometimes and would appear at Clara's door looking for comfort when Adrian was already asleep. Clara learned to be part of something. It was harder than she expected. One Saturday morning, Adrian knocked on her door earlier than usual. When Clara answered, still in her pajamas, he was holding 2 travel mugs of coffee. "Get dressed," he said. "We're going somewhere." "Where?" "It's a surprise. Wear something warm." 20 minutes later, Clara found herself in Adrian's SUV, heading out of the city. Mia was buckled in the back, practically vibrating with excitement. "Where are we going?" Clara asked again. "You'll see," Adrian said. They drove for almost an hour, into the mountains. The landscape shifted from urban sprawl to pine forests and snow-covered peaks. Adrian finally pulled into a small parking lot at the base of a hiking trail. "We're hiking?" Clara asked, skeptical. "Just a short one. There's something I want to show you." The trail was easy, winding through trees and along a frozen creek. Mia ran ahead, her purple coat bright against the white snow. Adrian walked beside Clara, pointing out landmarks and telling stories about bringing Mia here when she was younger. "Emma loved this place," he said at one point. "We used to come every spring." It was the first time he'd mentioned his wife voluntarily. Clara didn't know what to say. "She sounds like she was special," Clara offered. "She was." Adrian's expression was distant. "She was funny, smart, could make friends with anyone, total opposite of me." "How'd you meet?" "College. She literally ran into me in the library, knocked a whole stack of books out of my hands, then helped me pick them up while apologizing profusely, asked me to coffee as penance." Adrian smiled at the memory. "I was gone after that first conversation." "How long were you married?" 8 years, not long enough." Clara thought about what it must be like to have something that good and lose it. She'd never had anything worth losing. "I'm sorry," she said. "Me too." Adrian looked at her. "But I'm learning that life doesn't stop because you want it to. You keep going, find new reasons to get up in the morning. Like Mia." "Like Mia," he paused. "And other things." The way he said it made Clara's heart beat faster. She looked away, focusing on the trail ahead. They reached a clearing with a view that took Clara's breath away. The valley spread out below them, mountains rising on all sides, everything blanketed in pristine snow. "Worth the walk?" Adrian asked. "Yeah," Clara said. "Definitely worth it." Mia was already building a snowman, packing snow with her mittened hands. Clara joined her, helping stack the layers while Adrian took photos on his phone. "This is nice," Clara said quietly. Adrian lowered his phone. "Yeah, it is." They stayed for almost an hour, until Mia started complaining about cold toes. On the way back down, Clara slipped on an icy patch. Adrian caught her before she could fall, his hand warm and steady on her arm. "Careful," he said. "Thanks." He didn't let go right away. They stood there on the trail close enough that Clara could see her breath mingling with his in the cold air. "Clara." "We should keep moving," Clara interrupted, "before Mia gets too far ahead." Adrian released her arm. "Right, yeah." The drive back was quiet. Mia fell asleep within minutes, exhausted from the fresh air and exercise. Clara stared out the window, her mind racing. She was falling for him. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. Somewhere between the lodge and now, between survival and stability, she'd started to care about Adrian Cole in a way that went beyond gratitude. And that was dangerous, because Clara had learned early that caring about people only gave them power to hurt you. And she'd been hurt enough. But when Adrian glanced over at her and smiled, soft and genuine, Clara knew it was already too late to protect herself. Work became Clara's anchor. She threw herself into it, picking up extra shifts when Patricia offered them. The money was tight but steady. For the first time in years, Clara had a bank account with an actual balance. She started saving. Not much, just $20 or $30 each paycheck, but it felt significant, like building something. Patricia noticed the effort. One afternoon, she pulled Clara aside after her shift. "You're doing good work," Patricia said. "I'm recommending you for full-time if you want it." Clara's heart jumped. "Seriously?" "Seriously. Comes with benefits, health insurance, paid time off. You'd have to work some overnight shifts, but the pay's better." "I'll take it." Patricia nodded. "Good. I'll put in the paperwork. You start the new schedule next month." Clara walked out of the hotel that day, feeling like she'd climbed a mountain. Full-time, benefits, a real job. She wanted to tell someone. The instinct surprised her. She'd spent so long keeping everything to herself that the desire to share felt foreign. But she knew who she wanted to tell. Adrian was in the kitchen when Clara walked into the main house that evening. He was attempting to make pasta, which seemed to involve far more pots than necessary. "I got promoted," Clara announced. Adrian turned, a wooden spoon in his hand. "What?" "Full-time, starting next month, with benefits." A grin spread across his face. "Clara, that's amazing." "I know, right? I mean, it's still just a hotel job, but nothing. That's a huge deal. Adrian set down the spoon and pulled her into a hug before she could protest. Clara stiffened for a moment, then allowed herself to sink into it. Adrian was warm and solid, and he smelled like soap and coffee. She fit against him in a way that felt too natural. When he pulled back, his hands lingered on her shoulders. "I'm proud of you." The words hit Clara harder than they should have. No one had ever said that to her, not once in 30 years. "It's just a job," she said, her voice unsteady. "It's a start. And you did it yourself. You helped. I gave you a place to sleep. You did everything else." Adrian's expression was intense. "Don't minimize this, Clara. You earned it." Clara felt tears threatening and blinked them back. "Thank you." "Stop thanking me." "Make me." The words came out more flirtatious than she intended. Adrian's eyes darkened slightly, and Clara realized how close they were standing. "Clara!" "Daddy!" Mia's voice echoed from upstairs. "I can't find my library book." The moment shattered. Adrian stepped back, running a hand through his hair. "Yeah, go." He disappeared upstairs. Clara stood in the kitchen, her heart pounding, trying to figure out what had just almost happened. Whatever it was, it terrified her. That night, Clara lay in bed, unable to sleep. Her mind kept replaying the moment in the kitchen, the way Adrian had looked at her, the weight of his hands on her shoulders, the intensity in his eyes. He felt it too. Whatever this was between them, it wasn't one-sided, but that made it worse. Because Clara knew herself, knew her patterns. She sabotaged things, pushed people away, ran when it got too real. And this was getting very real. She needed to establish boundaries, create distance, protect both of them before someone got hurt. But the thought of pulling away made her chest ache. Clara got up and made tea, standing by the window in the dark. The main house was lit up. Adrian's bedroom light was on. She wondered if he was having trouble sleeping too. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. "You awake?" Clara stared at the screen for a long moment before replying. "Yeah." "Can't sleep either?" "No." A pause. Then, "Want to talk about it?" Clara's fingers hovered over the keyboard. She should say no. Should keep this professional, distant. Instead, she typed, "Can I come over?" "Door's unlocked." Clara pulled on a sweatshirt and walked across the yard. The cold bit through her thin pajama pants, but she barely noticed. Adrian opened the door before she could knock. He was in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, his hair sticking up like he'd been running his hands through it. "Hey," he said. "Hey." They stood in the doorway, awkward and uncertain. Finally, Adrian stepped aside. "Come in. It's freezing." Clara followed him to the kitchen. Adrian poured 2 glasses of water and handed her one. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "Too much in my head." "Yeah, same." They sat at the kitchen table, the house quiet around them. Somewhere upstairs, a clock ticked. "This is weird," Clara said. "What is?" "This. Us. All of it." Adrian took a drink of water. "Agreed. I don't know what I'm doing." "That makes 2 of us." Clara looked at him. "What are we doing, Adrian?" "I don't know, but I know I don't want you to leave." "I'm not leaving." "You say that now." "I mean it." Adrian met her eyes. "Do you?" "Because every time things get even slightly complicated, you pull away. You stop coming to dinner. You work extra shifts to avoid being here." "I'm trying," Clara protested. "I know, and I get it. Trust is hard. But Clara, I need to know if you're actually staying or if you're just waiting for an excuse to go." The question hung between them, brutal in its honesty. "I'm scared," Clara admitted, "of this, of you, of how much I'm starting to care." Adrian's expression softened. "You think I'm not scared? I haven't let anyone close since Emma died. But you—" He stopped, frustrated. "You got under my skin somehow, and I don't know what to do about it. Maybe we shouldn't do anything about it." "Is that what you want?" Clara wanted to say yes, wanted to play it safe. But sitting here in Adrian's kitchen at 2 in the morning, she was tired of lying. "No," she said quietly. "It's not what I want." "Then what do you want?" "I want to stop being so afraid all the time. I want to believe that good things can happen and stay happened. I want—" Her voice broke. I want to believe I'm allowed to have this. Adrian reached across the table and took her hand. His palm was warm against hers. You are allowed, he said. Whatever you think you deserve or don't deserve, that's all in your head. You're allowed to be happy, Clara. You're allowed to let people care about you. What if I mess it up? Then we deal with it together. You keep saying that, together. Because I mean it. Clara looked down at their joined hands. She'd spent so long alone that the simple act of holding hands felt monumental. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Neither do I. But maybe we can figure it out. Clara met his eyes, saw the same fear reflected back at her, the same hope. Okay, she said. Okay? Yeah, okay, let's try. Adrian smiled and it transformed his whole face. Yeah? Don't make me repeat myself. He laughed, the sound warm and genuine. Then he stood, tugging her up with him. It's late, he said. You should sleep. So should you. I will. Eventually. They walked to the door together. Adrian opened it, letting in a blast of cold air. Clara? She turned back. Thank you, Adrian said, for trying. Thank you for not giving up on me. Never. Clara walked back to the guest house, her heart lighter than it had been in months. When she looked back, Adrian was still standing in the doorway, watching to make sure she got inside safely. She waved, he waved back. And for the first time, Clara let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. The shift in their relationship was subtle but undeniable. Clara stopped avoiding the main house, started saying yes when Mia asked her to stay for dinner or help with homework, began spending evenings on Adrian's couch, working on puzzles or watching movies while Mia fell asleep between them. It felt domestic, couple-like, and Clara waited for the panic to hit. But it didn't. Instead, she felt something she barely recognized, contentment. Adrian was careful not to push. He didn't ask for labels or definitions, just took each day as it came, including Clara in his life like she'd always been there. Mrs. Chen noticed, of course. One afternoon, she cornered Clara in the kitchen while Adrian was upstairs with Mia. He's happy again, Mrs. Chen said, chopping vegetables with practiced efficiency. Who is? Adrian. Because of you. Clara shifted uncomfortably. I don't think... I've worked for this family for 4 years, since before Emma got sick. I watched him break when she died. Watched him put himself back together for Mia. Mrs. Chen pointed her knife at Clara. You're good for him. Good for both of them. We're just friends. Mrs. Chen gave her a look that said she wasn't buying it. Friends don't look at each other the way you two do. Clara's face heated. It's complicated. Love usually is. It's not, we're not yet maybe, but soon. Mrs. Chen went back to chopping. Don't run from it. Good men are hard to find. Good men who look at you like you hung the moon, even harder. Clara didn't know what to say to that. She fled to the safety of the living room, where Mia was building an elaborate fort out of couch cushions. Want to help? Mia asked. Sure. They built in silence for a while. Then Mia said, without looking up, I'm glad you're staying. Yeah? Yeah, it's nice having you here, like having a... Mia stopped, biting her lip. Like having a what? Nothing. Never mind. But Clara knew what she'd almost said, like having a mom. The weight of it settled over her. Mia was getting attached, really attached. And if Clara screwed this up, if she ran like she always did, it wouldn't just hurt Adrian. It would hurt Mia too. Clara felt the familiar urge to panic rising, but she pushed it down. She'd made a promise to try, to stay. And despite everything, she wanted to keep it. That weekend, Adrian suggested they go out for dinner, just the two of them. Mrs. Chen would watch Mia. Like a date? Clara asked. If you want it to be. Clara's stomach flipped. I don't have anything to wear. Wear what you're wearing now. You look fine. She was in jeans and a sweater. Nothing special. But the way Adrian looked at her made her feel like she could walk into a 5-star restaurant and belong. Okay, she said. Yeah, let's do it. The restaurant Adrian chose was nice, but not intimidating. Candlelit tables, soft music, a menu that didn't require a translation. They sat across from each other, and Clara realized this was the first time they'd been truly alone since the lodge. No Mia. No interruptions. Just them. This is weird, Clara said. Adrian smiled. You keep saying that. Because it keeps being true. Good weird or bad weird? I haven't decided yet. They ordered wine. Clara rarely drank, but tonight felt like an occasion. When their glasses arrived, Adrian raised his. To new beginnings, he said. Clara clinked her glass against his. To not screwing them up. I'll drink to that. The wine was good. The food was better. They talked about everything and nothing. Work, Mia, random childhood memories. Adrian told her about growing up in Chicago, about his parents who still lived there and called every Sunday. Clara talked about growing up in trailer parks, about her mother's anger and her own determination to escape. It was easier to talk about it now, with distance and wine softening the edges. Do you ever talk to her? Adrian asked. Your mom? No. Haven't in 12 years. Last time I saw her, she told me I was making a mistake trying to make something of myself, that I'd end up right back where I started. Clara took a drink. Guess she was almost right, but not completely. You're here now. Because of you. No, because of you. I just opened a door. You walked through it. Clara studied him across the table. Why me, Adrian? There had to be other people at that lodge who needed help. Adrian was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I don't know. There was just something about you. The way you held yourself together even though you were falling apart. The way you looked at Mia like you'd never seen a kid before. The way you didn't ask for anything even though you needed everything. He met her eyes. You could have played the victim, could have manipulated the situation, but you didn't. You just survived, and I admired that. Clara's throat tightened. I wasn't surviving. I was barely existing. But you were still here, still fighting. That counts for something. Does it? Yeah, it does. The server brought dessert, chocolate cake to share. They ate in comfortable silence, stealing bites from each other's forks. Can I ask you something? Clara said. Sure. Do you ever feel guilty about this? About us? Adrian's expression shifted. You mean because of Emma? Yeah. He set down his fork, considering. Sometimes. In the beginning, yeah. It felt like betrayal. Moving on. Letting someone else in. He looked at Clara. But Emma wouldn't have wanted me to stop living. She would have kicked my ass for even thinking it. She sounds like she was amazing. She was. But so are you. Clara's eyes stung. I'm really not. You are. You just don't see it yet. Adrian reached across the table and took her hand. But you will. I'll make sure of it. They finished dessert and walked back to the car. The night was cold and clear, stars visible despite the city lights. Adrian opened Clara's door, then hesitated. I had a good time tonight, he said. Me too. Can we do it again? The date thing? Yeah, the date thing. Clara smiled. Yeah, I'd like that. Adrian moved closer and Clara's breath caught. He was going to kiss her. She could see it in his eyes, the intention clear, but at the last second, he pulled back. Not yet, he said quietly. Not until you're sure. Sure about what? That you're staying, that this is real. Because once we cross that line, Clara, I'm all in, and I need to know you are too. Clara's heart hammered. She wanted to say she was sure, wanted to close the distance and kiss him until neither of them could think straight. But he was right. She wasn't quite there yet. Okay, she said. When I'm ready, I'll tell you. I'll wait. What if it takes a while? Adrian smiled. Then it takes a while. They drove home in silence, hands linked across the console. When they pulled into the driveway, Clara didn't immediately get out. Thank you, she said, for tonight, for everything. Stop thanking me. Make me. It was the same thing she'd said before. This time, Adrian leaned over and kissed her forehead. Good night, Clara. Good night. She walked to the guest house, her skin still tingling where his lips had touched. Inside, she sat on the edge of the bed and touched her forehead, trying to hold on to the feeling. She was falling, hard and fast and completely. And for once, she wasn't afraid of where she might land. The next few weeks passed in a blur of ordinary moments that felt extraordinary to Clara. Morning coffee with Adrian before he left for work, afternoons helping Mia with homework. Evenings spent cooking dinner together, the three of them moving around the kitchen in a dance that was becoming familiar. Clara's full-time schedule started, and the overnight shifts were brutal. She'd come home at 7 in the morning, exhausted and smelling like cleaning products, to find Mia waiting on the guest house steps with hot chocolate Mrs. Chen had made. "You look tired," Mia would say, like she was the adult. "I am tired. Daddy says hard work is good for you." Daddy says a lot of things. But Clara would drink the hot chocolate and let Mia chatter about school while she unwound enough to sleep. It was those small moments, the ones she'd never expected to matter, that started to stitch her life back together. One morning, Clara woke to her phone ringing. An unknown number. Her first instinct was to ignore it, but something made her answer. "Is this Clara Bennett?" A woman's voice, professional. "Yeah, who's this?" "My name is Sarah Kim. I'm a case manager with Denver Housing Services. Your employer submitted a rental assistance application on your behalf about 6 weeks ago. I'm calling to let you know you've been approved." Clara sat up in bed, her heart pounding. "I'm sorry, what?" "You qualify for a housing voucher. It would cover most of your rent at a qualified apartment. I have a list of available units if you'd like to schedule viewings." "I didn't apply for anything." "No, but Patricia Rodriguez at the Mountain View Hotel did. As your supervisor, she was able to submit on your behalf with supporting documentation. She listed your current address as temporary housing." Clara's mind raced. Patricia had done this? Without telling her? "How much would I have to pay?" Clara asked. "Based on your income, about $300 a month. The voucher covers the rest." $300. Clara could afford that. Barely, but she could. "Can I think about it?" "Of course, but I'd recommend moving quickly. Units go fast. I'll email you the list and my contact information." After Sarah hung up, Clara sat staring at her phone. An apartment, her own apartment, independence. The thing she'd been working toward without quite admitting it. She should be excited. This was good news. A path forward. So why did it feel like the ground was shifting under her feet? Clara found Adrian in his home office later that morning. He was on a video call, but he muted himself when he saw her in the doorway. "Give me 5 minutes," he said. Clara nodded and went to the kitchen. Mrs. Chen was gone for the day, and Mia was at school. The house felt too quiet. Adrian appeared a few minutes later, closing his laptop. "Everything okay?" "I got a call this morning about housing assistance. Apparently Patricia applied for me." Adrian's expression was carefully neutral. "That's great." "Is it? Isn't it?" Clara sat at the kitchen table. "I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's great. It's what I should want. My own place. Independence. But, Adrian prompted, sitting across from her. "But I don't know if I want to leave." There it was. The truth she'd been avoiding. Adrian was quiet for a moment. "You've been here almost 3 months." "I know. That was never supposed to be permanent." "I know that too. So what are you saying, Clara?" She looked at him, trying to find the words. "I'm saying I don't want to go. I'm saying this place, you and Mia, it feels more like home than anywhere I've ever been. And I know that's insane because we barely know each other, but it's true." Adrian leaned back in his chair. "What about what I said at the restaurant, about being sure? I'm getting there. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, you still have 1 foot out the door." The words stung because they were partially true. Clara had been playing it safe, keeping her options open in case everything fell apart. "That's not fair," Clara said. "Isn't it? You won't call this home. You won't let yourself fully settle in. You're still treating everything like it's temporary." "Because I don't know what else to do. I've never had permanent before." "So try it. Stay. Not in the guest house. Here. With us. Really, with us." Clara's heart hammered. "What are you asking?" "I'm asking you to stop running. To take the leap. To trust that this is real and it's not going to disappear. And if I can't?" Adrian's expression softened. "Then take the apartment. Build your life. I'll support you either way. But Clara, I need you to be honest with yourself about what you actually want." Clara stood, pacing to the window. Outside, the yard was covered in melting snow. Spring was coming. A new season. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I know. What if I'm not enough? For you, for Mia. What if I mess this up?" "What if you don't?" Clara turned to face him. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple. Do you want to be here?" "Yes." Do you care about us? Yes? Then stay. Clara crossed back to the table and sat down. I have trust issues, I noticed, and abandonment issues, and probably a dozen other issues I haven't identified yet. Same. We're a mess. Adrian smiled slightly. Yeah, we are. But maybe we can be a mess together. Clara felt tears building. I don't know how to do this. How to be in a relationship. How to be part of a family. Neither do I. Not anymore. We'll figure it out. You keep saying that. Because it's true. Adrian reached across the table and took her hand. I'm not asking you to be perfect, Clara. I'm just asking you to try. Stay. Build something with us. See where it goes. Clara looked down at their joined hands. She thought about the girl she'd been 3 months ago, broken, hopeless, ready to give up. She thought about the woman she was becoming, someone who showed up, who tried, who let people in despite the fear. Okay, she said quietly. Okay? Yeah, I'll stay. Really stay. Adrian's face broke into a genuine smile. Yeah? Don't make me say it again. He stood and pulled her up, wrapping his arms around her. Clara let herself sink into the embrace, breathing in the familiar scent of him. I'm all in, Adrian said against her hair. Just so you know, I have been for a while. I know. And I'm falling for you, hard. Clara pulled back enough to look at him. I know that too. Are you falling for me? Terrifyingly so. Adrian cupped her face in his hands. Can I kiss you now? I thought you were waiting until I was sure. Are you sure? Clara took a breath. Yeah, I'm sure. Adrian kissed her. It was soft at first, tentative, like he was afraid she might bolt. But Clara kissed him back, threading her fingers through his hair, and the kiss deepened. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that for weeks, he said. What took you so long? You're worth waiting for. Clara's eyes stung. I'm really not. You are. You just don't see it yet. They stood there in the kitchen, holding each other, and Clara let herself believe it. Let herself believe she deserved this, deserved him, deserved the chance at happiness. When Mia came home from school that afternoon, she found Clara and Adrian on the couch, Clara's head resting on Adrian's shoulder while they watched some terrible daytime TV. Mia stopped in the doorway, her backpack sliding off her shoulder. Are you guys together now? She asked. Clara sat up, suddenly nervous. Would that be okay? Mia's face split into a huge grin. Are you kidding? That would be amazing. She launched herself at them, squeezing between them on the couch. Adrian laughed, wrapping an arm around both of them. I told Daddy you should stay, Mia said to Clara. I told him forever ago. You were right, Clara said. I know, I'm always right. Adrian snorted. That's debatable. They spent the evening like that. The three of them piled on the couch, watching movies and eating popcorn. Mrs. Chen came by to drop off dinner and took one look at them before smiling knowingly. About time, she muttered. After Mia went to bed, Claire and Adrian stayed up talking, really talking, about expectations, about fears, about what they both wanted this to look like. I need to take things slow, Claire said. Not because I don't want this, but because I'm still figuring out how to be in it. That's fine. We'll go at whatever pace you need. And I need to keep working, keep building my own life. I can't just be your girlfriend or Mia's, whatever I am to her. Agreed. You should have your own thing. And I need you to be patient with me when I freak out, because I will freak out. Adrian smiled. I can do that. What do you need? Clara asked. Adrian thought about it. Honesty. If something's wrong, tell me. Don't just disappear and... He hesitated. Be good to Mia. She's been through enough. If you're going to be in her life, be all in. Don't break her heart. I won't, Clara said. I promise. Okay. Then we're good. They sealed it with another kiss, and Clara felt something settle in her chest. This was real. She was doing this. And for once, she wasn't running. The weeks that followed were an adjustment. Clara turned down the housing voucher, explaining to Sarah that her situation had stabilized. She kept her job at the hotel, kept saving money, kept building her independence. But she also started moving her things from the guest house to the main house. Slowly, piece by piece, a drawer in Adrian's dresser, space in the bathroom for her toiletries, her coffee mug in the kitchen cabinet. Adrian never pushed, just made room for her, literally and figuratively. Mia was thrilled. She started calling Clara by her name instead of Daddy's friend, started including her in school projects about family, started asking if Clara would be there for important things. "Will you come to my school play?" Mia asked one evening at dinner. "When is it?" Clara asked. "Next Friday. I'm playing a tree." Adrian hid a smile. "An important tree." "The most important tree," Mia said seriously. "I have a solo." "Trees have solos?" Clara asked. "Mine does. So, will you come?" Clara looked at Adrian, who nodded encouragingly. "Yeah, I'll be there." Mia beamed. The play was exactly as chaotic as Clara expected. Kids forgot their lines, the backdrop fell over twice, and Mia's tree costume was so bulky she could barely move. But when Mia delivered her one line, something about seasons changing, Clara felt her throat tighten. Because seasons did change, and people changed with them. After the play, they went out for ice cream. Mia chattered nonstop about everything that had gone wrong backstage. Adrian listened with the patience of someone who'd sat through a dozen school plays. Clara watched them, feeling something warm bloom in her chest. This was her family now, broken and messy and nothing like what she'd imagined families were supposed to be. But it was hers. "You okay?" Adrian asked, catching her staring. "Yeah," Clara said. "Really okay." Spring came fully. The snow melted, revealing green grass and early flowers. Clara celebrated 6 months at the hotel. Patricia pulled her aside and mentioned a supervisor position opening up in a few months. "Think about applying," Patricia said. "You'd be good at it." Clara promised she would. Her bank account grew, not rich, but stable. She could afford things now, new clothes, meals out, small luxuries. It felt surreal. One Saturday, Adrian suggested they drive back to the lodge, the place where they'd met. "Why?" Clara asked. "I want to see it again. With you. Now that things are different." They made a day trip of it, bringing Mia along. The lodge looked different in spring, smaller somehow, less imposing. The snow was gone, replaced by hiking trails and wildflowers. They walked around the property, Adrian pointing out where things had been during the storm. The lobby where they'd first seen each other. The room they'd shared. "It's weird being back here," Clara said. "Good weird or bad weird?" "Good weird." She looked at Adrian. "Everything changed here. For both of us." They had lunch at the lodge restaurant. Mia colored on her menu while they waited for food. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't offered to share the room?" Adrian asked. Clara considered it. "I probably would have frozen, or ended up back on the streets. Nothing good. I think about it sometimes. How random it was. How easily we could have missed each other. But we didn't. No, we didn't." Clara reached across the table and took his hand. "I'm glad we didn't." "Me too." On the drive home, Mia fell asleep in the back seat. Adrian and Clara drove in comfortable silence, the road unwinding before them. "Can I ask you something?" Clara said. "Always." "Where do you see this going? Us, I mean." Adrian glanced at her. "Where do you want it to go?" "I asked first." He smiled. "Fair enough." "Honestly, I see you staying. I see us raising Mia together. I see years of this, dinners and school plays and regular life. Maybe more kids eventually, if you wanted. Maybe marriage, when we're both ready." He paused. "Is that too much?" Clara's heart was racing. "No, it's not too much." "What do you see?" Clara thought about it. 6 months ago, she couldn't see past the next day. Now she could imagine years stretching out ahead of her. "I see the same thing," she admitted. "It terrifies me, but I see it." "Why does it terrify you?" "Because I've never had anything worth losing before. And now I do." Adrian squeezed her hand. "You're not going to lose this, Clara. Not unless you choose to walk away." "I'm not walking away." "Then we're good." They drove the rest of the way home in silence, hands linked across the console. That night, after Mia was in bed, Adrian and Clara sat on the back porch. The air was warm, the sky full of stars. "I've been thinking about something," Adrian said. "Yeah?" "The guest house is just sitting there, empty. So? So we could rent it out. Or—" He paused. We could turn it into something else. An office for you, maybe, if you wanted a private space. Clara looked at him. Why would I need that? I don't know. I just want you to know you don't have to give up everything to be here. You can still have your own thing. Clara leaned her head on his shoulder. I appreciate that, but I don't need it. I like being in the house with you guys. Yeah? Yeah. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Clara? I love you. Clara's breath caught. She'd known it was coming, had felt it in every gesture, every word, but hearing it still made her heart stutter. You don't have to say it back, Adrian continued. I just wanted you to know. Clara sat up so she could look at him properly. I love you too. Adrian's face broke into a smile. Yeah? Yeah. I have for a while. I was just scared to say it. What changed? I stopped being so scared. Adrian pulled her close and kissed her. It was different from the other kisses, deeper, more certain. A promise. When they broke apart, Clara rested her forehead against his. This is real, right? She whispered. I'm not going to wake up and find out it was all temporary? It's real, Adrian said. As real as it gets. Clara believed him. 6 months later, Clara stood in Adrian's bedroom, their bedroom now, getting ready for Mia's 7th birthday party. The house was full of kids and noise and chaos. Clara had planned the whole thing with Mia's input. Dragon theme, because Mia was still obsessed. Cupcakes decorated to look like scales. Party games that involved quests and treasure. You ready for this? Adrian asked, adjusting his ridiculous dragon hat that Mia had insisted he wear. As ready as I'll ever be. They headed downstairs together. The living room was packed with second graders running wild. Mrs. Chen was in the kitchen, calmly directing the chaos. Mia spotted them and ran over, her own dragon wings flapping. Everyone's here, she announced. Can we start the games? Let's do it, Clara said. The party was loud and messy and exhausting. Kids spilled juice, fought over toys, cried over losing games. Clara mediated disputes and served cake and tried to keep everyone from killing each other. But when Mia blew out her candles, her face glowing with joy, Clara felt something shift in her chest. This was her life now. Birthday parties and scraped knees and parent-teacher conferences. Normal things, family things, things she never thought she'd have. After the last kid was picked up and the house was relatively clean, the three of them collapsed on the couch. Mia was already half asleep, sugar crash hitting hard. That was insane, Adrian said. That was amazing, Mia mumbled. Clara smiled. It was both. Adrian carried Mia upstairs to bed. When he came back down, Clara was in the kitchen, finishing the dishes. Leave them, Adrian said. Mrs. Chen will do them tomorrow. I'm almost done. Adrian came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Thank you. For today. For everything. I didn't do anything special. You planned a whole party. You made Mia's day. That's pretty special. Clara leaned back against him. She's a good kid. She loves you, you know. I love her too. They stood there for a moment, swaying slightly. I've been thinking about something, Adrian said. Uh-oh. Hear me out. He turned her around to face him. I know it's only been a year. I know we said we'd take things slow, but Clara, I don't want to wait anymore. Clara's heart started pounding. What are you saying? Adrian pulled a small box from his pocket. I'm saying I want you here forever. I'm saying I want to make this official. I'm saying... He opened the box, revealing a simple ring. Will you marry me? Clara stared at the ring, then at Adrian, then back at the ring. A year ago she'd been homeless, hopeless, ready to give up. Now she was standing in a kitchen she thought of as home, looking at a man who loved her, being asked to join a family she already felt part of. Yes, she said. Yes? Yes. Obviously, yes. Adrian grinned and slid the ring onto her finger. Fit perfectly. I love you, he said. I love you too. They kissed in the messy kitchen, surrounded by dirty dishes and leftover birthday cake, and Clara thought about how far she'd come. She wasn't the same person who'd walked into that lodge during a snowstorm. That Clara had been broken, convinced she didn't deserve good things. This Clara knew better. She'd learned that accepting help wasn't weakness, that letting people in wasn't dangerous. that family could be chosen, not just inherited. She'd learned that sometimes the worst storms led to the best things, that rock bottom could be a foundation instead of an ending, that second chances were real if you were brave enough to take them. "What are you thinking about?" Adrian asked. Clara looked at the ring on her finger. "About how none of this was in the plan." "Is that bad?" "No, it's perfect." Because Clara had learned one more thing in the year since the storm, that the best things in life were the ones you never saw coming. 3 months later, they got married in Adrian's backyard. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Mia was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously. Clara wore a simple dress from a department store. Adrian wore a suit that was slightly too formal for the casual setting. Mrs. Chen cried through the whole thing. When the officiant asked if Clara took Adrian to be her husband, Clara looked at Mia standing beside her, at Adrian with his hand in hers, at the small group of people who'd become her family. "I do," she said, and she meant it with everything she had. The reception was in the same backyard, under string lights and a clear sky. They danced to a song Clara didn't recognize but that Adrian said was Emma's favorite. "She would have liked you," Adrian whispered as they swayed together. "You think?" "I know. She always said I needed someone who'd challenge me, keep me honest." "I can do that." "I'm counting on it." Later, Clara stood at the edge of the party watching everyone laugh and dance. Adrian was doing some ridiculous move with Mia that had her shrieking with laughter. Patricia came over, drink in hand. "You did good, kid." "Yeah?" "Yeah, real good." Patricia clinked her glass against Clara's. "I'm proud of you." Clara's eyes stung. "Thank you for everything, for applying for the housing voucher, for giving me a chance. You earned all of it. I just opened doors. You walked through them." That seemed to be the theme. People opening doors, Clara choosing to walk through instead of running. "Can I ask you something?" Clara said. "Why did you help me? Really?" Patricia was quiet for a moment. "Because 20 years ago, I was you. Different circumstances. Same place. Someone gave me a chance when I needed it. Figured I'd pass it along." "Did you ever think you'd end up here? Happy and stable with a family?" Patricia laughed. "Hell no. But here I am anyway. Life's funny like that." Clara watched Adrian spin Mia around, both of them laughing. "Yeah, it is." That night, after everyone had gone home and Mia was asleep upstairs, Clara and Adrian sat on the back porch. Clara's feet hurt from dancing, and she was exhausted, but she'd never felt better. "How does it feel?" Adrian asked. "Being married?" "Ask me in 10 years. "Deal." Clara leaned against him, watching the stars. "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me. That day at the lodge, for not looking away." "Thank you for staying." "Where else would I go?" "I don't know, but I'm glad you're here." "Me too." They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that only came with time and trust. Clara thought about the girl she'd been, angry, scared, convinced the world had nothing left for her. She thought about the journey from there to here, about every choice that had led to this moment. It hadn't been easy. There had been setbacks and doubts and moments where she'd almost run, but she'd stayed, she'd fought, she'd learned to trust. And now she was here, married, part of a family, building a life she never thought she'd have. "What are you thinking about?" Adrian asked. Clara looked at her ring, catching the light from the house. "About how sometimes you have to lose everything to find what actually matters." "And what matters?" Clara gestured to the house, to Mia sleeping inside, to Adrian beside her. "This, all of this." "Yeah," Adrian said. "It does." Clara closed her eyes and let herself feel it. The weight of belonging, the warmth of being chosen, the quiet joy of being home. She'd spent so long surviving that she'd forgotten what it was like to actually live. But she was learning. Day by day, moment by moment, she was learning. And for the first time in her life, Clara Bennett wasn't just surviving. She was thriving. The storm that had trapped them together had been brutal and unforgiving, but it had also been the beginning of everything. Sometimes, Clara thought, you had to weather the worst to get to the best. You had to be broken down before you could be built back up. She'd been broken, thoroughly, completely broken. But here, with Adrian and Mia, she'd been rebuilt into something stronger, something better, into someone who believed she deserved good things. into someone who could accept love without waiting for it to be taken away, into someone who could finally, truly be home.